So how do we start with opening music?
It's no ring, right?
Mm-hmm.
All I can say is that my life is pretty plain. I like watching the puddles gather rain. And all I can do is just pour some tea for two. Speak my point of view, but it's not sane. It's not sane. It's not sane. It's not sane. I just want someone to say to me, oh, 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 I'll always be here when you wake. I'd like to keep my cheeks dry today. Stay with me and I'll have it made. I don't understand why I sleep all the day. I start to complain that there's no rain. And all I can do is read a book to stay awake. And it rips my life away, but it's a great escape. Escape, escape, escape. I just want someone to say to me, oh, 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 I'll always be there when you wake. Like to keep my cheeks dry today. Stay with me, and I'll have it made. All I can say is that my life is pretty plain. You don't like my point of view, you think I'm insane. It's not sane. It's not sane. It's not sane.
Go.
So,
Good morning.
Nope.
Good morning. We're the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Elkhart, a welcoming community encouraging religious freedom, nurturing individual, spiritual, and ethical growth, celebrating diversity, and promoting a just and sustainable world. My name is Ken Claiborne, and I'm a member of the board of this congregation. Welcome to all of you who are joining us for this streaming service this morning. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Amy Kaliza DeBeck, and it's my privilege to serve here at UUFE as the minister. It's also a little bit wild to be trying to live stream, but we have a crew who is really trying to make this work. So I invite you to breathe deeply and go with the experience. This week at the fellowship, we celebrated the life of Pedro Galicia yesterday at Palmer Funeral Home, and soon you'll be able to watch that service on different outlets through their live streaming yesterday. Also, next Saturday, the 21st, the governing board of this community is going to have a retreat wherein we envision what we could be doing for this next year. I hope that if any of you have any questions or you're raving about this community that you're just finding out about, I hope that you'll contact us. Our contact information is on the Facebook page, the YouTube page, and our website. So buckle up, buckle in, settle in, let's have a great service.
we ring the gong 3 times. Once for those who came before us and made a place for us. Once for those of us who are here now. And once for those who will come after us and build on the dream. Living in Elkhart, Indiana, we reside on the original indigenous lands of the Potawatomi and the Miami. Today's chalice lighting is by Ellen Hamilton. In faith together we light this small scrap of light, symbol of grandfather's son's enormous power, whose energy burns so brightly in these days of deep summer, catapulting the leaves and vines, vegetables, flowers, and fruits to astonishing size, lengths, and heights, spilling over the tops of cages, walls, and trellises, delighting and nourishing all beings. We bask in the warmth and the heat of these days, with lightened hearts and quickened senses, in gratitude and faith.
I hope that you'll share the covenant with me at home or wherever you're watching this. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our covenant.
The Frenches play some music while you think about how much money you would like to give in the offertory. Each week we share that with a not-for-profit whose values are in line with ours. It is time for the morning offering. Good morning. I forgot to announce when I was saying hello to you all that my pronouns are she, her, and hers. I wanted to start off my sermon time of the service by wishing my husband, the Reverend Kevin DeBeck, a happy anniversary. Today he is up in Southfield, Michigan, and today is our 23rd anniversary. So oftentimes, before he was also a minister, I would ask him, what would you like me to preach about? And you know, a person can only preach about Star Trek so many times. But what I wanted to say is that the things I'm going to share with you today are really based on figuring out, like a good marriage, you have to figure out what you don't want so that you can get to what you want. So today I wish to share with all of us a piece of my innermost self, one of the things that inform my theology and really everything. Today I invite you into my way of soul introspection by asking, what is it that you don't want? Religions are good for helping us to see how to live better, fuller lives through faith. But what is it about faith that opens our minds and hearts to achieving a better life? It includes knowing what we don't want. Even God is clear what God does not want. Of the 10 commandments, 8 of them let us know what God does not want. Only 2 are in the affirmative. Honor your parents, you all hear that? And keep the Sabbath holy. Truly I say unto you, it is a positive move to figure out what you don't want. We have been in a pandemic with various stages and degrees of quarantine and shutdown for 18 months. We all have ideas about what we wish for, that we could gather together and enjoy the experience we had, whether it was worship on Sunday morning or a forum or yoga, what have you. The point is that even though we are able to do something like what we used to do, it's not the same, and it's not what we really want. Let's just be honest. We never knew how good we had it until it was gone. Friends, I have been through full ranges of emotions and back again. You probably have too. I am sad, sad, sad to my core that we have not been able to gather in this sanctuary on Sunday mornings. For the few months leading up to March of 2020, we were beginning to do these little Wednesday night things that were really turning out great, but those went away with COVID too. Right now, I would be bringing snacks made from my vegetable garden to committee meetings and potlucks if we could safely eat off of a communal plate or safely eat around each other. I propose that we just stop. I do not want us to get lost in nostalgia and wishing for some day that we have no power over, a day when life goes back to pre-pandemic. What if we think about instead what we don't want? Usually in American culture, we fixate on what we want, envisioning for that, and pinning our hopes on things going well so that we get what we want or dream of. But before any of that happens, we have to subconsciously figure out what we don't want. This morning, I invite you to look through your life. Think about what life might be like if our thoughts began with, okay, here's what I don't want, and then go from there. I'm going to begin this process that I really hope you follow with a story from my own experience. I've often spoken of my call to ministry, but today's tale is a little bit different. It's how my path opened up to hear that call by first defining what I don't want. Follow along with me if you like, thinking about what it is that you need to clear away. My trip to ordination began by clearing away my old way of life. Maybe this will work to get us out of the funk that we're in now. What do you need to clear away? I had a day when I had to choose. It was literally one day where I had to choose between hanging up the phone on a tragic situation that was being told to me or replenishing my employee's cash drawer. I was in retail management. And on this day, I thought, I never want to do this again. This was years before corporations were deemed to have agency, that I decided people over money, or at least people over corporations. Is there something relating to money that you do not want? You do not want capitalism to be so powerful in your life anymore? Or maybe you don't want corporations to be so powerful in your life anymore. We can decide what we don't want and go from there. And we don't need to be cranky. We don't need to be naysayers. Just figure out what you don't want and then don't do it. Of course, I still had to work, even after I figured out how to get out of that job. I had to work, so the next time I had to look at what I don't want was when I was choosing a college major. Rather than simply getting a degree in what I already knew, human resources, training, things like that, I didn't want that. I went with philosophy and religious studies. I still wasn't sure what I wanted, but I knew I didn't want to keep progressing in capitalist ventures. While I was taking classes and discerning if my philosophy degree might be used either for going into law school or maybe teaching philosophy, it became clear that I didn't really want to do either of those jobs either. Within a year or so, I had found the UUFE and was exploring my call to ministry. I knew I did not want to be part of any religion where LGBTQ people were not seen as whole people. So I had not thought there was room for me until I walked in to that beloved Richmond, Virginia UU congregation. Lots of things holding me back from membership elsewhere did not exist at that UU church I found, and so I joined and I began exploring. Can you think about what you don't want from your spiritual life? And if you were pleased with how religion intersected with your life before the pandemic, could you think about how do you translate that to now? Most of us have to try out different things before we land on the right one. For instance, I had many jobs before I chose to get a degree in pursuit of something else. I had to figure out what I don't want. Have you ever cut something out that you did not want and then see great results? Mostly the emphasis is on how we fulfill our goals. But today, let's not overlook that process of pruning away withered, unhelpful parts. Our gardens are going bonkers right now all over the region. Zucchini recipes abound, for instance. I have learned since moving to Elkhart and becoming a gardener that pruning is an important part of gardening. Deadheading flowers results in more verdant blooms. When the gardener, farmer jettisons the dead parts, there's more room for new life. I'm a new gardener, but I have learned to decide what I want and don't want when it comes to pruning. A plant can either go to seed or get more blooms. It cannot do both. Prune if you want blooms, or let it go to seed for next season. Plants know they can't do both. We could learn a lot. The farmer needs to know what they want and what they don't want. This idea of knowing what you don't want is not a new idea. In many cases, people keep trudging and keep being unhappy or unsatisfied because the dream of what we think we want is elusive and it's out of our control. Streamlining, minimizing choices, relieving ourselves from the burden of choice can actually make us happier when we figure out what it is that we don't want. because in doing so, we've made a real choice. We can say, well, I don't know how this next thing is going to turn out, but I'm sure I don't want this. From Psychology Today, the article was called, "You Don't Know What You Want. Research indicates humans are bad at predicting what will make them happy." It was from 2017, before the pandemic. And I'm quoting from Psychology Today. The author's last name is Cohen. "In our study, we brought students in and we created a photography course. And we had all of them work with us for a long time, learning how to do black and white photography. Then at the end of the course, we gave them 2 photographs they had taken. And we said they could keep 1. And we were going to keep 1. Well, this was horrible for them. They wanted to keep both. They had a tough decision to make. In one group, we said, if you ever change your mind about which photograph you want, just let us know. We'll swap with you. Another group was told, your decision is final. Once you make this decision, the photograph that you're donating to us gets sent off. It will never be seen again. This study showed that people who made an irrevocable decision, one they could not change, were much happier with the choice they made. When you've made an irrevocable decision, you rationalize it. Your brain works for you. That was my words, not theirs. Once something's gone, and gone forever, the mind gets to work figuring out why what it got is really better than what it lost. Those who had more freedom were less happy, though most would think the opposite. That's the end of the quote from the article. Friends, deciding what you don't want enables you to actually make a choice, and that is the strength we crave. We can decide what we want, sure, but then it may or may not work out, and there's still all of that work to do toward that goal. But deciding what we don't want, well, that clears out crowded space in our head, in our heart, and yes, maybe in our home. Marie Kondo is very popular. She tells us how to figure out what you don't want and what to do with it. That's another sermon that I won't be giving. Deciding what we don't want is a positive thing. It clears the way. So let me tell you what I don't want. Maybe you don't want the same thing I don't want. I don't want to keep talking about dates and numbers regarding how safe or unsafe we are due to COVID and her horrible cousin Delta. One way to not get too obsessed is to make a plan and stick with it, an irrevocable decision. We're on our way to that. We have a task force and we have a board who puts out statements. For instance, in order to not be checking news feeds constantly, which I was doing at the beginning of the pandemic, I just wear a mask when I'm out in stores, when I'm out in public, and I stay home, or I go places where the people and I have determined ahead of time how we're going to be. I don't want to be tied to a news feed. I don't want to keep hearing about how we aren't open. Friends, the doors at UUFE have always allowed in those who want to or need to come in, always. When the board declared in March 2020 that we would be worshiping online only for many months, the very next day, people still went to UUFE and did their jobs. I would see TJ and Ken and Dwight and Mike and lots of people there. I don't want to keep hearing that we've been closed, because we have not been. I don't want for us to forget that we're an institution whose cornerstones, besides worship, are religious education and social justice. They cannot be done like before. It doesn't mean it can't be done. I don't want us to forget us. Making choices is a proactive thing. When we figure out what we don't want, narrowing our remaining choices, it can make us feel better. I mean, A psychology magazine even said so. In the weeks and months to come, my sincere hope is that we all remember this concept. Are you in a malaise about something? Figure out what you don't want. Figure out what you want to cut out, and maybe your skies will get clearer. And there's no need for negativity about it. You don't even need to trash the thing that you're getting rid of. You just decide you don't want it. Make a choice. May we choose to be happy more often, and may we unclutter our lives by not keeping around unwanted energy, unwanted things, unwanted ideas. I hope this works for you. Thank you for being with us as we learn how to do this live stream in the sanctuary service. What I want to share with you is the benediction I gave yesterday at Pedro Galicia's celebration of life. He had loved Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and so the benediction is from that movie. I know you're sitting on your couch. Stand up and get ready. Be excellent to each other. Amen. Blessed be. Go in peace.
We're good.